I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC Nashville, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And the biggest winner on this card for me was Steve Garcia. What a performance that was over Calvin Kattar. I believe he's the first fighter to actually knock down Calvin Kattar in a fight, at least in a UFC fight. Did not look like a minus 170 favorite. He looked much higher as far as the betting odds go, because this was a dominant performance here. The stats back this up. If you look at it here, significant strikes, 85 compared to just 26 for Calvin Kattar. And here's the thing, like, he didn't need to do the type of fight that Yusuf Zalal did, which was, maybe not the most appealing fight, but more of a strategy. Garcia actually just went out there and outstruck him, and he looked awesome. His power was on point. This is a big win here for Garcia, and Garcia not ranked. This has got to get him in the rankings now. Just beat the number 14 guy. I just think big things are ahead here for Steve Garcia with this performance. And like I said, he wasn't totally favored to win this fight. He was, like I said, slight favorite at minus 170. So for him to go on there and put on a good performance like this, I think will do wonders for Steve Garcia in the featherweight division. Big one there for Steve Garcia. He's my biggest stock riser on this card. Okay, second biggest stock riser on this card. We're going to stay in the featherweight division. Morgan Charrier, big win here over Nate Landwehr. Again, pretty big favorite going into this fight, but it's the fact that he goes out there and ends up getting the finish. So he's like a minus 245 favorite. And again, same sort of thing if we look at the stats here for Charrier and what he's done in that fight. This is just a good fight. And the type of fight I think that, he sort of needed in his career. Now you look at the things were a little bit closer here, 63 to 67 here. But Charrier, again, just dominant third round, ends up getting the finish here. And I don't think Landwehr's been finished in quite some time. So for him to go, to me, this was like, we know how good he was as a fighter, but to go out there and, finish Nate the Train, sort of hometown fight here for Nate, to go out there and get it done. Actually, he did get finished in the fight before that. That's what I was remembering. But I know prior to that, there was a while, I think the Julian Erosa fight was it's been a bit since we've seen him get finished. But I just think that this was like a good opportunity for him to come into enemy territory, get a win, and get a finish, and really sort of remind people that, he's quite a force here at 145 right now. I know he had that one controversial decision loss. I think it was to Chepe, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, I know he the loss to Nathaniel Wood as well. So, again, getting this win here, I think will really help out Charrier in the division. He's getting closer to the rankings. This is a good win there for him, finishing Nate Landwehr and getting it done on this card. Okay, other big stock riser on this card, it's got to be Walter Walker. He's amassed quite the win streak right now. Where is he? Why can't I find him? There we go. Getting another submission win, and even more impressive is he does this as an underdog. He was a plus 165 underdog. Kennedy was actually favored in this spot here, and he gets another submission victory. That's sort of been his thing the last couple fights. And again, if you look at this division right now, with heavyweight, it is pretty wide open right now, right? Like, it's probably one of the weakest divisions right now in the UFC. So a win like this, is he ranked right now? I don't even know. But I know that, he's not ranked. I would think this is going to get him in the rankings, or at least close to it, because you look at that win streak right now, 3 straight submission victories, all heel hooks too, which is super impressive. So Walter Walker, he's becoming like the new Paul Craig of the heavyweight division right now. Very impressive win there. Big win there for Walter Walker, who is again going to propel himself up the heavyweight ranks with that win. Okay, a couple of honorable mentions. This is kind of an interesting card because, normally when we do the stock report, I usually focus on the main and co-main event as far as context. Derek Lewis getting the win, his stock certainly goes up. He was an underdog. He'll get an honorable mention here. You could possibly put him in the, the top 3 as well. I'd be open to that as well. Just, I know people were kind of, iffy on the finish with Teixeira covering the cage. It was a bit of an early stoppage. I think that's, if this was like just a clean knockout from Derek Lewis, I probably would have him in the top 3. I just think because of the fence grab, and that's not his fault. Again, I don't think Teixeira was going to come back and win this fight. I don't have a huge issue with the stoppage. I just think because it was a bit of an early stoppage, a little bit tough there for Lewis, but he's got back-to-back wins. I just don't really know what stock rise this does for Lewis, so to speak. He's 40. Like, what are our expectations for Derek Lewis in his career going forward? He's probably going to continue to get fights like this where he's fighting up and comers, because I don't think the UFC has any plans of seeing Derek Lewis go on any sort of title run here. So I'll give him his flowers. Again, honorable mention for sure. But like I said, because of the fence grab, that's sort of what puts that in the honorable mentions category. And then another one we got to mention too is Jake Matthews getting the upset win over Chidi Njokuani. Again, he was an underdog in this spot here. Actually, no, he wasn't. It's slight underdog, minus 105. But he's really pulled away here in the welterweight division. That's 3 straight wins now. Another guy that you could potentially put in this top 3, but I'll add as an honorable mention just for the simple fact that, again, I don't know what sort of Matthews, like what this win sort of does for him, so to speak, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, big win there for Jake Matthews, getting it done in the first round. Okay, let's get to our stock droppers here. Stock dropper, biggest stock dropper on this card was the man I just talked about, Jake Matthews. His opponent, Chidi Njokuani, again, favored in this spot, not by a ton, but feel like he had a ton of momentum sort of going into this. Look at some of his fights. He had the 3-fight win streak, right? So, and those are not the greatest opposition overall, but 3-fight win streak. Looked like he found some new life at welterweight since moving down from middleweight. Misses weight in his last fight. This fight, he does make weight. I know there were some questions about whether he made the weight or not because of the weigh-in stream, but UFC does confirm that he does make weight. It's just the fact that he gets finished in the first round. Like that 3-fight win streak's out the window now. He gets finished here. And here's the other key thing here. He's 36. So this loss really hurts him more than other fighters just because, if he was going to go on a run, you can't be getting finished in the first round here. So Chidi Njokuani, biggest stock dropper on this card. Second biggest stock dropper is another guy who was favored in his fight, and that was Kennedy Nzechukwu, getting finished here. I want to say that's one of his few submission losses here. When was the last time he was actually finished via submission? Yeah, I think that's his first submission, other than Paul Craig, who again we talked about before. Paul Craig is the other guy that's getting a lot of had a lot of submission wins here. So yeah, he's lost 2 times by submission. But I just thought this was a winnable fight for him, and for him to put himself in a position where he was, susceptible to getting submitted, I think is tough for him. Again, 33, you thought maybe there's some promise at heavyweight. Maybe there is. I mean, 33 is very young for heavyweight, but I just look at the fact that this is a guy that was on a, back-to-back win streak in the heavyweight division. That's kind of out the window now with him losing in the first round. So Kennedy Nzechukwu, another guy who's a stock dropper. And Junior Taff, I got to talk about him. In fact, Junior, you could have put even higher on this list, but Junior Taff is now 6-4 in the UFC. You just don't see records like that in the UFC too often. But we know the UFC likes the Taffa brothers here. We thought maybe the move down to 205 would add some new life here, but he's minus 245. And honestly, I don't think he looked good at all in this fight. And then Tuco finishing him in the second round here. So Junior Taffa, to me, big stock dropper on this card. Again, 28 years old. Think there's some promise being at light heavyweight. Doesn't matter. He ends up getting finished in this fight. And then another honorable mention I'll go with, because I haven't even talked about this fight, because it didn't really sort of fit the mold of the winner and losers thing. But I think Gabriel Bonfim's stock went down tonight. I don't normally do this, but I don't think he won this fight. I thought Stephen Thompson won this fight 2-1. Minus 500 favorite. You didn't look like it. Didn't look like it in this fight. And again, Thompson's 42. He was coming off a couple stoppage losses, right? Buckley finished him, and what was the loss before? I think it was Buckley was the last fight, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you had the Buckley loss, and then got finished by Shavkat, and then Bonfim, you getting a prime opportunity here, fighting a 42-year-old. You're up and comer. You're 27, and you won the fight, but I don't know. I think fans are going to look at this as a loss for Gabriel Bonfim. So for that alone, I think that's going to be a bit of a stock drop for him. I know in the context of the rankings and all that, maybe they consider this, something good for him. But if I'm the UFC and I'm trying to build him up, I'd take a step back after this, honestly, because this was not the performance you want if you're trying to get in those, get into the rankings, make a run at 170. I just think the performance wasn't great for Bonfim. He's got to look a lot better than that. Did not look like a minus 500 favorite. Like I said, thought Thompson won that fight 3-2. And I think, I don't think I'm alone on that. Actually, let's go, we got a quick second here. Let's go look at the MMA decisions. I didn't even check this out yet. How did the media score this one? And this isn't the be-all, end-all, but this is something I always like checking up. As we're waiting for the site to load here. Yeah, just 2 media members scoring it for Bonfim, the rest scoring it for Thompson. So I'm not on an island here. I did think Stephen Thompson won that fight. Okay, let me know in the comments who your 3 biggest stock risers are, your 3 biggest stock droppers are. Let me know in the comments. Just want to hear your opinion. Again, there's no wrong or right opinions here. This is just my opinion on who I think stock went up and went down. This is just a fun little video we do after every single event. I'm glad to be back, guys. It's been a bit. See, I got the tan and everything going on right now. I was away for the last week, but I will be back tomorrow previewing UFC 318. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the card and your stock risers, stock droppers. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.